Wake up and smell the coffee, Mr. LaRusso.
Extreme situations require extreme measures.
Yo guys, we're back to Cobra Kai Karate. Welcome back to a brand new video, and today we're going to be talking about why I think Cobra Kai Season 3 is the best season in Cobra Kai. And right before I start, I want to apologize. I haven't posted for the last 2 weeks. Obviously, the last thing I covered was the huge teaser announcement or release date announcement. And yeah, there really hasn't been too much to talk about. I do know that Cobra Kai filming is done. I was going to make a video about it, but I felt like everyone kind of already knows about it, so it wouldn't really be too necessary. I did talk about it on my podcast, which I'm still doing every week. I should be going live tonight, or I think I might post this tomorrow morning, so I went live last night, but we'll see when I post this. But yeah, apologies on that, and this is the video that you guys voted for a little while back, so I'm finally getting into it. I actually did rewatch Cobra Kai Season 3 for this video, so we're going to be talking about it, why I think it's the best. Here we go. And right before I start, I'm not going to bring up any like objective facts like, oh, it's better this, better that, because obviously it's all entertainment and it's all just how you perceive it, and the way I perceived Season 3 was just better than any other season. I do think that Season 5, Season 4, they all come close, but I still think that this is, I'll just say this, number 5 is closer to number 4 than number 2 is to number 1. That's all I'm going to say. But let's get into this right now. So why is Season 3 my favorite? I'll first start off with this. Season 1 and 2 were, I think, a lot more slower, a lot more deep in the story writing, and it was a lot more simpler, mainly because there wasn't, so much stuff happening, so much new characters. It felt just on a straight and narrow. It was pasted right, written right, acting right. It had everything you want. I think Season 1 and 2 had the best story out of any seasons. But at the same time, I love Season 4 and 5, where that seasons bring all the excitement, the insane stuff, all the stuff you love to get your adrenaline rush, especially watching for the first time, all that excitement stuff. Now, to be granted, story writing and good pacing and good acting, all that is still in Season 4 and 5, and there's still a lot of excitement in Season 1 and 2, but just not to the extent they both had it. Season 1 and 2 had a way than 1 and 2 had, mainly because there just wasn't enough to cover, and there was a lot more free room with the less characters and plots going on. And with all the stuff happening in Season 4 and 5, there's a lot more excitement, a lot more craziness that happened in Season 1 and 2. But when we talk about Season 3, I think it balances it perfectly. Now, this is the first time I went to Netflix. It was on YouTube Red for the first 2 seasons. It gets canceled. The shows, we don't know where it's going to go, if they're even going to do it, because the whole coronavirus happened. They had to stop filming Season 3. Is it going to go to Hulu? Is it going to go to Netflix? Will they have to cancel the show? Big worries happening, but it goes to Netflix. It goes to there in, I think, August of 2020, and we get Season 3. I think that was January 1st, 2021. And I think it balances everything you love from Season 1 and 2 with the acting, the story writing, the simpleness, and it also brings in the new stuff that you love in Season 4 and 5 with the excitement, the craziness, and all that stuff. Let's just talk about Episode 1, which is one of the best Episode 1s of a season, in my opinion. I think it probably is the best. And Aftermath. Obviously, I think one of the big things about this is it left off on the biggest cliffhanger, and it made us wait so long. So whenever I watched this, I remember the hype. I mean, we had to wait, almost 2 years for this because of coronavirus, the streaming services, and we didn't know what was going to happen with Miguel. I think we all knew he was going to stay alive. We didn't know he's going to be paralyzed, never walk again, never fight again. There's so much unanswered questions. So going into this, there's so much excitement, and this Episode 1 just brings in so much stuff. We see Johnny in a very dark place, a place we really have not seen him at all. He's been in rough times, but never in a dark place like this. We even see Cobra Kai and the Miyagi-Do students, or more of the Cobra Kai students, kind of dividing against each other. We had the whole school stuff, and it, especially with the other stuff, as far as if Daniel and Johnny, we see them starting to try to work together at the end of the episode, and also starts developing something which I think is one of the best arcs in this show, and it's Sam. Starts developing this almost PTSD arc. And Sam, you can say your opinions about her. Yes, she was quite annoying in Season 1 and 2. Those are all valid criticism. But when you see her in this spot, in this vulnerable spot, it really makes you sympathize for her, which really, really helps with the story. Episode 2, Nature vs. Nurture, I believe it's called, is another terrific episode because it starts developing so much stuff. I think one of the best things it does about this, the best thing about the season is everyone's almost against each other. It feels like everyone's against each other, but they all have some sort of the same goal, and it's finding themselves. So as almost everyone's against each other, we start going through their individual plots, we start sympathizing for them. whether it's Sam with the whole PTSD stuff, even people like Tori, where we get the first 2 seasons, it's all about her being evil, crazy lunatic. This season you start sympathizing for her. We see her struggling with a job. We see her and her family life. Even people like John Kreese. Yes, there's that little homeless stuff in season 2, but this one really goes deep into it, especially with the flashbacks. We get flashbacks of him in Vietnam. We realize the way he is. It puts more depth, not just on Cobra Kai, but even in the Karate Kid movies. And when you can add depth when you're rewatching a movie from 30 years ago, that just shows how amazing the story writing is. We even see the scene where Hawk goes to Kreese and he is not so sure about, attacking or them kicking people out of Cobra Kai because they're not tough enough or strong enough, where he looks at it as a master's friend. So we start seeing Hawk and him not just align as the evil guy he was portrayed as in season 2. And Hawk's art only gets better and better throughout the season. We also see Johnny and Daniel fight side by side, which is really fun to see. And we even get that really emotional scene of Miguel and Johnny, which was terrifically acted and just amazing, especially the circumstances and where it left off and where Johnny is and the place he's in his life. Episode 3, Now You're Gonna Pay, is another amazing episode. And this episode I think is so good because of Robbie. We see Robbie in juvie, and Robbie from season 1 and 2, he has just been beaten down in life. He has just been hurt emotionally, and just the way he is raised and just spending his life has been rough. And he tries to do the right thing. He fights back in revenge, which was his mistake, and now he's in here juvie, and no one's visiting him. He tries to reach out to his dad, and I think this is just such a good scene of Johnny having to choose almost against Miguel and Robbie, and inevitably he does choose Miguel. Maybe it's just because he was in the moment, but seeing that scene of Robbie putting him there, this is why I love this show, and especially in season 3. It's not black and white. It is such a gray area. It shows everyone's perspective. I just butchered that word, my fault. But it really just shows how everyone's feeling, and it does it where you're not mad at anyone, at the same time not justifying anyone. Because you can understand Johnny's decision while being mad at him and while feeling bad for Robbie, all at the same time. We also get that awesome juvie fight from Robbie where he fights all the people, which is absolutely epic. And Sean is just such a good side character. I'm happy he's back for season 5. Episode 4, The Right Path, is one of my favorite episodes because it has probably my most favorite moment. This is the episode where we see Daniel go back to Okinawa. Mainly because he's struggling with, his car dealership and his business, and he tries to get it fixed. And he goes all the way there, and they basically just say no. Goes to Okinawa. Obviously he meets Komako, which is great seeing an OG Karate Kid character back, and this episode really goes in depth of just Daniel trying to get back on track, Daniel trying to find the right motive, and Daniel just going back to Miyagi. This is why I appreciate this show and this season particularly so much, where it doesn't forget the past. It doesn't just move on from it and try to add on the new characters. It reflects on the past, and that reflection shines on the future, including Daniel, including Johnny, including the new students. And that is very difficult to write, especially from a movie that was 30 years ago that, you're not even the one who created it. But one of my most favorite scenes is Daniel and Komako, them reading Miyagi's letters, of just hearing Miyagi's letter of how much she truly loves Daniel, how much he truly cares about him, and just them breaking down. That scene felt like Miyagi's spirit was there. And obviously with Pat Minorta's death and everything, it's just so much more impactful. And Miyagi was so big in Karate Kid, and he's still so big in Cobra Kai, mainly because they add stuff like this. And this personally is one of my favorite scenes in the whole show. It's so emotional, brings so much depth to the show and the past. And obviously Miyagi's my most favorite character out of the whole Miyagi-verse. This episode we also see Johnny trying to talk to Robbie, where Robbie basically just, denies him, and you really understand both of their sides. And obviously it leads off with Chosen, which was just so epic. And one last thing I'll say about the show, I think it was that one girl that Daniel saved. She's actually like a dealership apartment, and she can get Daniel's car dealership, keep it alive basically. And I think Komako's the one who says the line, you put good in the world, it comes back to you. That is such a good life lesson, and just how crazy it is that Daniel saved this girl 30 years ago in a rainforest, and now she's helping him. I love when Cobra Kai brings real life lessons, and that's one of my favorite quotes in the whole show. You put good in the world, it comes back to you. The time it comes back to you is not relevant, but it will come back to you at one point, even if it's 30 years or 1 second. And I do believe that to be true, and it's just such a good line that they put in the show. And I'm an idiot. I realize that's in episode 5, not episode 4. I'm sorry. But speaking of episode 5, obviously it's Daniel and Chosen Miyagi-Do, seeing them back together, seeing them learning about, Miyagi-Do history, and just seeing them actually fight each other and the pressure point, just seeing the Chosen back, which is so awesome. We also see Kreese talking to Robbie, where he says, all this kung fu stuff or kata, whatever it's called, and Miyagi-Do does not work in the real world, and now you're gonna have to actually do something because now you're in the real world. And say what you want, it is kind of a fair assumption there, especially when he's getting beaten up, and especially knowing Kreese's backstory with the way he was taught and trained. So even if you don't agree with that necessarily, you can somehow understand it. I think that's why I love this show so much. Seeing Johnny teaching Miguel to walk, bring him to the party, all that stuff was so fun to see. This had some of the most funniest scenes, had so much great stuff for this episode and the season. And obviously 2 epic fights at the exact same time simultaneously. This is what I'm talking about. Season 1 and 2 had some cool fights, but never had fights like this. And I feel like season 4 and 5, the fights do get better, but I feel like the story writing and arcs get a little sided. Like season 4, Hawk's arc, it's a huge thing. Then they don't talk about it for 5 episodes. Or they set up an arc in season 4 about Tori and Amanda, and they don't even mention them once in season 5. And I think that's because there's just so much stuff happening in such a little time. They can't do everything in season 4 and 5. Season 3, I feel like they had all the opportunity and they just hit the nail on it perfectly. And yeah, obviously the 2 fights was, the Miyagi-Do Cobra Kai fight inside like the arcade area, where we see Dimitri get his arm broken and Sam not really doing anything about it. We're kind of in a PTSD thing. And seeing Hawk's face before he does it and him breaking it really hit it in the right place, where you're not like mad at him. You're not mad at him like when he trashed Miyagi-Do, like how he was in season 1 and 2. You really, when you saw his face, you really almost sympathized for both of them. And obviously the epic fight between Robbie versus Sean, which is absolutely awesome. And it also leads off on an epic cliffhanger of seeing Amanda slap John Kreese, and then right after that we see Johnny on Facebook and we see Allie. Now episode 6, King Cobra, is another amazing episode. The first thing I want to talk about is them bringing in new students like Brooks and Kyler, and one of my favorite scenes is season 3, Hawk, episode 6. That's the episode we're talking about. I don't know why I had to say that, but anyway, where they're kind of like poking at him, like, oh, what happened to you, kind of bullying him, and you get these flashbacks, and you really remember how like it almost feels like you're getting the flashback when you watch season 1, and you can just you can feel your own anger getting towards these guys, because you know how weak he was and how he couldn't do anything and how you felt so bad for him, and now how you know where he is, you know how high he's on the mountain and how far he's came, and just the way, those guys can act so good at making you just want them to get socked in the face, and that happens. One of the most awesome scenes, he starts beating him up, we get the most awesome sound, Hawk's theme, and then John Kreese says finish him, and right before he can even finish him, we just hear him punching him brutally, blood on his hand. He gets up, spits on him, and stares Kyler right in the face, and he can't even look him in his eyes. Now that right there is Hawk. That was Hawk at his peak, and that is the way Hawk should be now. Now I'm not saying season 2 Hawk is bad, or season 1 Hawk is bad, but I'm saying is those guys were not as epic as season 3 Hawk, and they also was not as sympathized and understood and as season 3 Hawk. Season 2 Hawk had part of that, but he was more of just a big bad villain. Season 3 Hawk, he is more sympathized. Season 4 Hawk, gets a lot more sympathized, but and I feel like his arc was great, but it's not the epic Hawk that we like, of him just, going more down like a peace thing. And in season 5, he's just more of like a side character at best. And obviously the flashbacks this episode, seeing Kreese of him not taking the order to kill one of the soldiers, because I think he got ordered to like blow it up or do whatever, but if he did do it, his one soldier would die, but now they're all going to die because he didn't, and then he gets shot right in the head right next to him, and I feel like that just gets, you understand him a lot more of, if he would have done that, he could have saved him, and that really messes with your head, especially when you go into life, and it makes you understand it so much more. And these flashbacks are a lot more impactful than you guys think, because now I can't even watch movies of 30 years before this without looking at it different, or the future ones now. And other seasons have sort of done that, like season 4 and 5 with Silver, but never like this in season 3. And one last thing I'll say is that emotional scene of just seeing of Johnny and Miguel, where he's trying to get him to walk. That one right there was just absolutely perfect, and I just loved it. Episode 7 is really kind of around Sam and like her PTSD problem growing stronger, and her going to Daniel and talking about it, and where he brings her to the place where he got hurt in Karate Kid 3, and we get the flashbacks of Karate Kid 3 when he was beaten down and he was like almost paralyzed in fear, and Miyagi obviously tells him you can't lose to fear, and he gets up and wins. And that was a life lesson to Sam, saying that you're the only one that can get up when you're down, you're the only one that can get up when you're feared, and only you can beat the fear. And I feel like that was just such a great moment. Another thing I loved is Miguel coming back in school and really starting to see the divideness of Hawk and Miguel, and where these dojos really separated these once friends. And then when Johnny got there and told Hawk right in his face, pointed right in his face, was just an awesome scene of him just telling him straight. Episode 8, we see Miguel struggling with karate, and we see him almost kind of yell at Johnny, saying, I have to prove it again, because he said, you already proved you're a champion, there's nothing more to prove, no one expects you to be where you were, and he said, I have to prove it again. I think that was such a good moment for Miguel's character, and something that still lingers to this very season, because when he won in the wrong way, and he won not as himself, and him saying he has to prove it again, which is so impactful for his character, especially how that comes back to the end of the season. Seeing Robbie and Tori talk, and them just talking, and them just understanding each other, really, I think that they've both been positioned in the exact same like place in life, but they both just taken different learnings and teachings, but now they're both at the rock bottom, and now they're just almost relating with each other, and understanding each other. I think that creates such a strong bond, which is just, like I said, carries into the other seasons, and that just first talk of them talking just really set the founding ground. And another scene I saw or really liked this episode is Miguel and Sam kind of like hanging out, doing this whole karate little thing in there, and then Robbie comes in, and you can understand Miguel. Obviously Miguel loves Sam. He just made one bad decision, and Sam kind of left him, and I don't think he ever really loved Tori. He kind of just liked her, and I feel like he was only dating her more to just like cope with Sam. If that was not true, he would not have kissed her in season 2 when he was sober, by the way. Not Sam wasn't. I feel like Sam definitely still has feelings for her, and him. And with Robbie being absent, she kind of just fell into her feelings, and that was definitely a wrong decision to do. But you understand why she's doing. You understand why Miguel's doing, but I think you understand even more deeply, on a deeper level, why Robbie feels his way and why he feels such hatred. Because this guy was in Juval. Why do I keep saying Juval? Juval. Oh bloody hell! I need help. Pray for me. Just pray for me right now. Get on your knees and pray for me. Juvie. Oh my gosh. And we see him struggle throughout the whole season, and him just seeing that, how much that breaks his heart. And then we see him go to Carice at the end, and you're almost rooting for him. You're happy for him. You want him to go down this path because you want him to see on this villain arc, and I feel like his villain arc was even better. And one other thing I'll say, this season is also better because we finally got rid of that nasty haircut he had, that Lord Farquaad nasty haircut. We finally got a good haircut. And I'll say right now, season 3 Robbie is the best Robbie. I love season 5 Robbie. I feel like he's more balanced from the good and bad, but I loved him when he was a full-on villain. Or not a full-on villain, more like he was entering the villain arc, not when he was fully in it. When he was fully in it was season 4, and I wasn't fully on path of that. He was cool, but I didn't like him that much. Season 5, he kind of balances it out, but season 3 is when he was just getting into it. I feel like that was just so interesting and so awesome. Now, episode 9, Feel the Night. Obviously, the big thing about this, we see Allie again, and I love the way they bring her back in. Obviously, of Johnny, he is definitely dating Carmen at the time, and you really see him kind of struggle almost. And we see, I love the scenes of him and Allie, of them meeting up, going to eat the burger, the veggie burger, but then he changes it. That was a hilarious scene. And then seeing them go to, obviously, golf and stuff, and we hear the iconic song Feel the Night, which is one of my favorite songs, and it just brings you back to that vibes of Karate Kid. And like I said, I just love the way the show does that. Doesn't forget Karate Kid, because Karate Kid is my second favorite movie of all time. My favorite's Rocky, and I love that movie, and I love it more than any season of Cobra Kai, if I'm being honest. It's so classic, so well, and I love it. And so when I watch Cobra Kai, it just brings it back almost in a modern way, and it just does it so well. Where it's paying respect to the past, while having that past reflect to the future. It just works so good. And I never really seen that work outside of maybe like Creed 1 and 2 with Rocky, but I feel like Cobra Kai does it perfect. I love the way they bring Allie back. That was really good seeing her come back. But obviously we see Johnny make his decision where he wants to have Carmen. I feel like that was just such a strong moment by Johnny. And we also see Robbie join Miyagi-Do, and he goes steals like a snake and stuff. You know, there's some cool stuff out there, and you see him actually get into there, join it, and all that stuff. I don't know. But here we are, episode 10, December 19th. This episode, may I say, is one of the best episodes of film entertainment I've ever seen. Especially if you're such a big fan of the show and characters. It brings this whole season, every single arc it was setting up, from there and there and there and there and there. It's like when you're playing chess and someone brings this insane chess move where they've been setting up for a long time. You don't even see it coming, it just happens right there, and everything just unfolds before your eyes. Every single arc comes full circle at one episode in the most awesome way, and this episode is insanely good. Besides, obviously, Tori's running in, screaming no mercy on top of her lungs. Everything besides that was good.
Tori, you don't have to do this.
It's too late. This ends tonight. No mercy!
Every time I have to watch that, I have to clean my eyes out with bleach, and I have to, get on suicide hotline because it is probably the most cringiest thing ever. And also, whoever the person who made a song about that going, no mercy, that stupid song that someone made, all I'm saying is don't ever look it up on YouTube. That is probably the worst song I've ever heard in my life. I'm still traumatized by the day. I almost feel like John Kreese with the Vietnam flashbacks. That's what I feel like whenever that song comes back in my mind.
No mercy!
Cold-blooded.
No mercy!
Anyway, back to the episode. Since this is such a good episode, I'm just gonna go scene by scene by this episode, appreciating every single scene. It starts off with the Vietnam flashbacks of them seeing, of them being in the cage, the POW camp, and them just seeing where they're gonna be fighting to death. We see Daniel and Allie talk, which is really cool to see, and then we see Johnny come in, and they exchange some funny insults to each other, which was really funny. Then obviously we have the no mercy thing, which was not fun at all, but let's just move past that. And we just have Johnny, Daniel, and Amanda, and Allie all just having a good time at dinner. It was just such a fun time. Even at the end where we hear Daniel say, Merry Christmas, Johnny, then Merry Christmas, LaRusso, it just leaves a smile on your face and just makes you happy. But in the midst of that, we have insaneness happening. We have the house fight, which, like I said, besides the whole numbers thing, it is an awesome fight. It is one shot filmed at one point. It is really cool, really awesome. And then we see Tori and Sam. We see Sam running into the Miyagi-Do place, and we see, Tori start beating her down with the nunchucks and everything. And then she remembers what Daniel said. She gets up, beats her up, and it was a really good scene. Now, I know there's some people that like Sam more than Tori, people that like Tori more than Sam. That's all good, but as far as for story goes, it was just a good moment. And then we see another amazing scene where we see everyone getting beaten up and Hawk looking around, him having flashbacks, almost everything. And what he has seen visually is just his friends getting beaten up. And although these are the people he's supposed to be rallied by, he's been learned that an enemy, all the stuff that he learned, he knows that. But what he is looking at right now is his friends getting beaten up. And we see him just slowly get there, and we know when he gets his fist and he's slowly running there, we know what he's gonna do. And we see him punch him and Dimitri, they give each other a little handshake and they just start beating up everyone. Such an amazing moment, a moment that we've all been waiting for, and it was terrific. Another amazing moment is so we just completed Sam's arc of her PTSD. We just completed Hawk's arc of his redemption arc. Now we're about to complete another arc of Miguel having to prove himself, him getting beaten up really, really bad by Kyler. He breaks out of it and beats him up. Now that was awesome, but it gets even better. We see Johnny going there. He's about to confess his love to, Carmen, but he sees, Miguel beating up really bad. We see him, what happened? We know in that moment that Johnny is not messing around and things are about to get serious. Right before that, we get the PTSD flashback, or the Vietnam flashbacks of Johnny and Captain Turner, John Kreese and Captain Turner going up to the fight, and we see him with rattlesnakes at the end, which was absolutely crazy. But then we see Johnny walk in one shot, slam open the Cobra Kai door, and we see Robbie in there. And we see him talking to Kreese. Kreese gives him one more chance if he wants to stay. I think that shows, he said oh, this is your last chance 20 times. I think he keeps saying that because he really does care about Johnny. But obviously Johnny just punches him in the face. And we get this awesome fight between Johnny and John Kreese in the midst of flashbacks of John Kreese fighting against Captain Turner. And it was so cool when you're rooting for Kreese and rooting against Kreese at the exact same time simultaneously. I thought that was pretty cool. We see a moment where Johnny grabs it and he could literally kill Kreese, but he drops it, which really shows his character. Which I know it's like, oh wow, he didn't kill someone. What a terrific guy. But like, you have to understand the circumstances of how this guy's affecting his life, his family, and everything. We see Robbie run at Johnny. Johnny does not want to hit him, but then he eventually kind of pushes him around, but he cracks his head on the locker, and he's trying to help him, but Kreese gets up, and we see him going to literally kill Johnny. Now, in any other season, in any other moment, we would not be fully against Kreese right now. But since they're doing this fight simultaneously, where you're rooting against his past self, and you're understanding the way he is. Like, if this was a flashback 2 episodes ago, it might not have hit the same. But since it's at the exact same time, and we see him about to kill Johnny, obviously we don't want this to happen. Obviously we know it's a bad thing. But you understand him, you know? And I feel like that wouldn't hit as same if we didn't have those flashbacks, especially at the exact same time. But obviously we see Daniel come in, and we see him throw him out the window, and one of my most awesome moments is him using the pressure points, and we see Kreese look at him in fear. The first time we see fear in Kreese's eyes, and it was just such an awesome moment. But then obviously they make the promise where it's like, you know, the All Valley thing, whoever wins in the tournament, and we see Johnny and Daniel just look at each other, and then we give them my favorite scenes, and that is, I can hear the air coming in the air tonight. I just said that wrong. I'm sorry. I'm not a professional singer. I apologize. But just seeing Johnny and Daniel, or not, no, we've seen all the students come in. It starts off with Miguel coming in. We see Hawk come in. We see all these people that used to be enemies. Then we see Daniel there. Then we see Johnny walk in. Everything's been building up. Like, it almost feels like Avengers Endgame. Everything has been setting up from the last 3 seasons, all coming to conclusion. And we see him, are you ready? And they say, yes, sensei. And it was just amazing. And obviously, it leaves off on an awesome cliffhanger that Terry motherfucking Silver is coming back. So there it is, guys. Sorry it's such a long episode. I wanted to go by just to give it all. This season is just nostalgic. It's fun. It's funny. It's great. It's awesome. It's great acting. Great story. It's entertaining. It's rewatchable. And everything you want from Cobra Kai, whether it's the story writing, whether it's the good pacing, whether it's awesome fights, everything you want is in this. The funny moments, the nostalgic, bring back iconic characters, bring back 2 iconic characters, almost 3 really, if you don't count Terry Silver. It just does it so well, and this is why I think it's the best season. Season 5 is awesome. It has all the craziness, all the great stuff, great story writing. Obviously, I thought the pacing was off at times. Obviously, especially at the end of the season where they had, Sam kiss that, they bring in love drama, and Sam just kind of being a bad girlfriend all around. They bring in a lot of stuff I didn't like in that season. Still a great season, definitely number 2. And when I first watched it, I thought it was the best, but nothing, I don't think even season 6 can beat the nostalgic and amazingness that I hold in my heart with this season. It's just like Miyagi says, it's balanced. It's balanced right and balanced perfect. And that's why it's the best season in Cobra Kai. If you watch this whole video, guys, you might be just as crazy as me, and that is okay. Thank you guys for watching so much, guys. I appreciate it. Sorry this feels a little bit delayed, obviously. It's quite a long video, and I did want to rewatch it, so I'm not just yapping my chap. You know what I'm talking about. But thank you guys for watching this so much. I'm going to be posting a new community tab, what video you guys want next. Make sure to tune into my lives every single Tuesday or Thursday night. It depends. And yeah, I'll see you guys next week or next video. Always remember, extreme measures are extreme measures. Peace out.